What's up guys, Bua Davis here. Today I want to teach you how you can make your first 3D game very easily. The game will be like this cube will be our main character and he has some obstacles which he should avoid by jumping on them. And if he touches these obstacles, the game will be restarted. You will learn how you can set up the scene, how you can work with UI, with the scoring system, and a lot more. So this video will be very informative for you. And before we begin, if you like this content and videos like this, please like and subscribe to my channel because it will be greatly appreciated. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, I set up this simple scene, 3D default scene, and we will work here. And to start with, let's create our first game object, 3D game object. To do it, in the hierarchy, click on the empty panel, 3D object and cube. Let's rename name to be a ground, and let's resize it. First of all, reset its transform to be 0, 0, 0. And let's resize it on the z-axis. I think 200 will be more than enough for our game, but you see that our ground is white, which is boring right now, so I will change color. But how to do it? In order to change the color of the 3D object, we should create materials. In the assets window, click on the empty space, create, and you will see material here. Now, this material has different elements and don't worry about them because today we only need this albedo one, which controls color. Click on the color and we can assign any color we want. Let's assign something like this. And let's drag our material into our cube, directly into our cube, and it will change color. We can also change colors again. Okay. Our ground is ready. Only thing that is left, it needs tag. If you click on the ground, you will see this tag and layer. These tags are just like categories which can be used in different scripts, and you will see it later. But first, let's create tag for our ground. To do it, click on this tag, add tag, and on the plus sign, just type ground with capital first letter and click on the save. Now click on the ground again and let's assign ground tag to it. Okay, our ground is ready. Now let's create our player, and to do it, let's again create 3D object cube, reset its transform. To do it, you should click on this three dot and click on the reset. It resets this transform component, and let's place it a little better. On the Y, I will only change this Y to be 1 and it will sit directly on our ground. Amazing. And let's change color to our player. To do it, let's create again material, and let's change albedo to be something like blue color. And let's place it into our cube, and let's rename it as a player, assign tag of player. This player tag will be default and you will see it in your tag system as well. You don't need to create, just rename this cube to be player. Amazing. And we will use some forces, some rigid bodies in order to jump with our player. That's why we need to add component of rigid body. So click on the add component and let's type here rigid body in search box. You will see these two, one is for 2D game and one is for 3D game. So we need rigid body, and you see it has some gravity, drag, angular drag, mass. That's exactly what we need. We don't need this angular drag though, so let's make it 0. And we don't need any rotations, so let's tick freeze rotation in all of axes. And for position, I will tick only X and Z, because we only need movement on the Y axis in order to jump. And let's do it like this. Okay, our player is also ready. I will change name of it to be player. Okay, and now let's position our camera little better, because if we go in the game view, now you will see it, that now you see our player and ground, but it's because I positioned our camera earlier. But what you will see is that this view, even not this view, you will see this view, and you might get confused. This is because our camera is positioning pretty bad and looks in other direction. To change it, we can position it a little better. We can grab our camera and rotate to something like -45. We can change Y as well, and we can change the axis as well. Okay, I will do it something like this. You obviously can position it however you want. I just want to feel my game like this. By the way, I changed this aspect ratio from the free aspect to 16:9 because it fits more for this kind of games. And I will also change the skybox because I don't like it, and those types of games are using usually solid colors. So let's click on the main camera and you will see these clear flags, which is set to skybox. Let's set it to solid color, and you can change color of your background however you want. I will leave it as it is right now. Obviously, you can design this game a little better with some fancy cubes and lighting, but I want just to teach you how you can actually make it, and you will take later this game and design it however you want. Okay, now we are ready to create some obstacle, because our game is nothing without obstacles, right? So let's once again create new 3D object cube. Let's reset everything and let's position it a little better. I will change Y to be 0.5, and I will scale it X by 5 and Y by 2. Okay, our obstacle looks fine, I think. We can create new material for it and change color. So albedo, let's make it something like green. Okay, our game is now looking a little better. I don't like this camera, so I want to position it a little up. Okay, it's fine. And let's save our scene. Now, into our obstacle, let's name it to be obstacle, and it also needs tags just like we did with the ground. So click on the tag, add tag, click on this plus sign, type here obstacle, click on the save, and once again click on the obstacle, and assign tag of obstacle to it. Also, it has this box collider, and you see this is trigger. It's used to trigger some events. In our case, we need to tick it. Otherwise, he can't trigger our player. He can't kill basically our player, and we won't be able to restart our game. So just tick this is trigger, and we are ready to go and make our player to actually do something, to jump, which is amazing. To do it, let's create new C# script and name it player or player controllers or something like that. I already prepared as this empty script. Just drag this script into your player. Let's check if it's added. Yes, indeed, our player has this script. Now let's open the script and what we want to do. First of all, we want rigid body to get our rigid body, which, as I said, if you remember, this rigid body is used because we want some physics, we want to add forces, and that's why we need it into our code. So we can say rigid body, and we can name RB to be simple. We also need one public float. Let's name it jump force, and we will assign some value in the inspector. This will be our jump force for jumping. And in the start, we should get reference to our rigid body. Otherwise, we can't use it. So we can say RB equals get component, and the component we want is rigid body. Parentheses, and that's it. We have reference to our rigid body, and we can actually make our player jump in the update because it runs in every frame. So our code will go here, and we can say that if we are pressing some button, we should jump. How to do it? We can say that if input get key down, and in parentheses we can say key code dot space. I will assign it to my space because I'm used to jump with the space. You can obviously assign to some other key in your keyboard, or you can also assign it to your mouse clicks. But anyway, when we press our space, we should jump. So we need to add force to our player. In order to do it, we can say rb.addForce, and in the brackets, we should say direction. So in our case, direction is vector3.up because we are jumping on the y-axis, multiplied by jump force to actually jump. And we can say here that force mode will be impulse. Force mode.impulse. It means that our player will have instant impulse, and that's exactly what I want from my game. And let's save the script. To save it, just click on the Control S or Command S if you are on Mac. Let's go back in Unity and into our player. You will see in the script it has some jump force. Let's set it to be 18. Let's press play and see how it looks like. Okay, here's our player, and if we click on the space, it jumps too high and falls really slow. That's because our gravity is not big enough, I think. What we can do, we can change gravity to all of our game, because in our game I only have to have this jumping to my player, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, go to the edit panel, and into project settings you will see this physics component, and in the gravity it has X, Y, and Z, and Y is set to minus 9.8, which is approximately how Earth gravity feels like, and we can set it to minus 50. This way our player will fall much faster because gravitational pull will be much stronger. Simple physics, okay? What we also can do, actually jump force 18 will be fine, I think. Let's play test and see. Okay, here is our player, and let's click on the space. Okay, amazing. But we have one big problem here. If we spam our space key, our player keeps jumping, and that's not what we want. We want our player to jump once and fall, jump and fall, jump and fall. We don't need this movement. So let's change it. And if you remember, we assigned tag to our ground, and its name is ground with the capital first letter. And we can use it into our script, and you will see now why we want tags and why they are useful. So let's go back in Unity and first of all create new bool. Bool can jump. Okay, this boolean is just returns true or false, and we can use it as a trigger. not as a trigger, as the indicator, whatever we can jump or we cannot jump. To do it, we need to create special method, which is on collision enter. Just find it, click enter, and it will auto compile. And this on collision enter will be called when we collide with something with the name of ground. So let's type if collision dot game object dot tag double equals, and we can say here ground because tag name is ground. If you named your tag other way, you will type it here, but in my case it's ground. So in brackets we can say that can jump is true. Now what we are doing here, when our player is contacting with something with the name of ground, with a tag of ground, in our case this floor, our ground, red box, he can't jump. But when our player is in the air, he cannot jump because he is not colliding at that moment with something with a tag of ground. That's exactly what we need. And obviously we need something like on collision exit. And we can copy this line of code. And we can just type here that can jump is false. This method will be called when we will be in the air. So our player will know that he can no longer jump. So can jump will become false. One more thing, in order everything to work, is to change here code little bit. So after key code space, we can add one more thing. We can add these signs. It means end. So if we are touching the space button and can jump is true, only then we can jump. Otherwise, if we are in the air, we can't jump, no matter how much we are pressing the space key. It's very simple. I hope everything you understand. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to ask me in the comments down below. But trust me, there is nothing complicated. We just create this tag system, ground, and this boolean to control our jumping. Let's save our script. So Control S. Let's go back in Unity and let's press play and see. And indeed, our player only can jump once, no matter how much I spam the space key, he will jump only once. Amazing. Now, what we should do next? Next, we should make our obstacle to move. Actually, I think, yeah, let's do it. Let's create new C# script. I already have one. I called it obstacle. You can call it anything you want. Just assign this obstacle to obstacle game object. Let's check if it's there. Yes, indeed. Our obstacle has this script. Let's open this script. And what we want to do, we want some speed. So let's type public float speed. And we will assign some value in the inspector later, but let's first make it move. We don't need the start, so we can delete it. And in the update, we can say that transform.translate, and for direction we want vector3.forward because it's movement on the x-axis. And let's multiply by speed to have some speed, and multiply by time dot delta time for some time frame for the smooth movement. Let's save the script and let's go back in Unity and let's see how it looks like. And just click on the obstacle, scroll down, and you will see speed. Now we should make the speed with a minus value, otherwise our obstacle will go forward and not on our direction. And Let's press play and see if our obstacle moves to us. Yes, indeed, our obstacle moved towards us. Amazing. Now, let's create prefab for our obstacles in order to be able to use it again and again. We will need it later when we will create some spawner for our obstacle in order them to spawn in the random ranges, and then we will delete them. So to create prefab, we just need to drag this obstacle from the hierarchy to assets folder, and it will create obstacles, and we will use them a little later. But first of all, let's create our restart function, because now when our obstacle will touch our player, nothing will happen. And I want us to be able to restart our game when we hit our obstacle, because that's the main point, right? So let's open our player controller once again, and after on collision exit, let's create new method, and it will be on trigger enter. Now, what is this on trigger enter? If you remember, on our obstacle, I told you that we need to tick is trigger. And that's exactly why I told you, because we can say here that if other dot game object dot tag double equal sign, here our obstacle has tag of obstacle, and in brackets we can say that scene manager load scene. But for it, first of all, we need to add something like using Unity engine.scene management. Otherwise, our Unity won't recognize what we are doing. So just add here using Unity engine.scene management. And we can say here that we want our scene manager load scene. And in my case, scene name, let's go and see, is Android. If you, well, obviously you will have some other scene name and you will type that here, but in my case, I will type Android. And what it does, when we trigger something with a tag of obstacle, which is our obstacle, our game will be reload and it will start over. So let's save this script. Where is this script? And let's go back in Unity. Let it compile for a few seconds. Let's go back in Unity. In order everything to work, we should add our scene into our build settings. How to do it? In the file, you will see this build settings, and into our scenes in build, you see this panel. We should add every scene that we want to be in our game here. Always remember it. In our case, we only have one scene, so let's click on the add open scenes. It will add this Android scene out into our build settings, and now we are ready to press play and see. Now I will crash into this obstacle, and indeed our game restarts and it goes over and over again. Amazing. Next step that we want to do from our game is to actually make our obstacle spawn automatically, because I want to just place hundreds of obstacles here by hand. It will be boring and not will be good for our performance. We can obviously just spawn our obstacle. For it, let's create new game object, create empty, and let's name it game manager. And we also need to create script with the name of game manager. I already have created new script. This script, this sign, I hope won't confuse you. It's just Unity's way to handle a script when you name it game manager. Just assign this script to your empty game object, game manager. Let's check. Yes, script is indeed here. So let's open our game manager script and see. what we can do and what we should do. Okay, first of all, we need two references. We need public game object, not game manager, game object, obstacle. Let's name it obstacle. And also we need public transform spawn point. This will be point from where our obstacles will spawn. Okay, now in order to spawn our obstacles, we can create coroutines, which are very useful to control some time and movement. And in order to create coroutines, we need special method with the name of INumerator. So type INumerator and let's name it something like spawn obstacle. Parentheses and brackets. Amazing. Now, we also need to create one more method. It will be public void game start, parentheses and open brackets. And now we will create while loop in our INumerator. This while loop is infinite loop and it will run till we stop it externally. So we can say while true. So while it's true, float, let's create new float. Let's call it wait time will be equal random.range. Now this random.range creates just random numbers and we need it. But first of all, it takes some minimum and maximum amounts. So it's just time, let's say 0.7 from 0.7 to 2. What it does, it will create obstacles with a range of 2.7 and 2 seconds. And our obstacles will feel that they are coming in the different way with a different and direction between obstacles will be different. Very handy method and very easy to implement with. So we create new float with the name of wait time and assign some random.range number, which is this range is from 0.7 to 2. You can also change these numbers, make it bigger or smaller. But for us, let's leave it like it. After it, we can wait for some seconds. And to do it, we can say yield return new wait for seconds. And let's wait for wait time. So this way, this function will be actually executed and our spawners obstacles will be spawned in the different seconds. And after it, what we can do, we should instantiate what we want to instantiate, what we want to create into our scene. We want to create obstacles. So we can say here obstacle. Also, we need position. So position will be our spawn point dot position, and it also needs rotation. We don't need rotation, so we can say quaternion dot identity, which means that it won't have any rotation. Also, in the game start, we should run our coroutine, and to do it, we can say start coroutine, and in brackets, we will say our spawn obstacle, which is name of our INumerator, spawn obstacle. You should write parentheses once again, and that's it. Only thing that is left, our game start should run somewhere, and let's run it into our start. So in start, let's say game start, or what is name? Yeah, it's game start, and parentheses. And that's it. That you need to spawn your obstacles. Now, let's go to this code once again in order you to understand everything. We created this obstacle game object and transport spawn point, which will assign in the inspector and you will see it. We created this coroutine with the name of spawn obstacle, and to create coroutine we need a special method with the name of INumerator. And we created while loop, which will run infinitely, and basically we will have our obstacles infinitely. And we assigned some random road range and some seconds. From 0.7 seconds to 2 seconds, they will be spawned into our scene. Very easy. Let's save the script and let's go back in Unity. And we will need to assign few things. Into Game Manager, you see this obstacle and spawn point. For our obstacle, we already have this prefab, and let's use this prefab. Let's drag it. Not drag this obstacle itself, because we will actually hide it. We don't need it anymore. So let's hide it. And into our Game Manager, assign this prefab, and it also needs spawn point. So let's create our spawn point. Let's create empty with the name of spawn point. And let's drag our spawn point somewhere. For example, here. From here, our obstacles will be spawned. Amazing. That's all that we need. Let's just drag our spawn point here into our script. And let's press play and see if our spawn points are actually working. And indeed, well, I'm pretty bad in this game, as you see. But yeah, they are creating in the different points with a different speed, I mean. That's exactly what we need, these random creations. Okay, it's fun, but it has one big problem, which will be bad for our performance, because if you see, I don't know if you saw, but I will show you once again. When our obstacles, okay, I will try not to die for a few seconds to show you what I mean. And let's pause our game. Let's go in the inspector. As you see, in the inspector, our obstacles are created, but they are not deleting. It means that after a few minutes, our performance will be bad because our scene will be full of these obstacle clones. So we want something to control these obstacles and to actually delete them. To do it, let's go back into our obstacle script and create one simple method, which is void on became invisible, and we can say here destroy game object. Now what is this on became invisible? Basically, when our obstacles will go through our camera, so when our camera will no longer see them, they will be destroyed automatically. That's all. Let's save the script and let's go back in Unity and see if it's working. Just look on my hierarchy. Okay, our obstacle created. Here are two clones, but they are deleting after some time, and that's great. 2 or 3 our game will handle at the same time. It's no problem. We won't have any lags. And amazing, our obstacles are ready, and we are also ready to go and work with some canvas and UI. Because, okay, to create our canvas, our UI, we should click on the empty space on the hierarchy and see UI. We will use legacy, this old one. New one is called TextMesh Pro. You can use it also, but I will use new, old one. And it will create this text. Let's go in the scene view and see where it is. Let's position it little better. Alignment, let's click on the center and center. Font size, I will make something like 18. And in text, let's click on the 0. we should click on the rect tool and make our number bigger in size, and let's position it in the upper corner, a little left, and that's it. We can also change color. Also, we can change font, but I don't have any fonts right now. Let's change color to red. I think it looks fine. And let's create button also. So to create it, click on the canvas with the right mouse, UI, legacy, button. This will create button, as you see. Let's position it a little bit better. And this button has text, which says button. You can say here play, and when you press play, it will start the game when we finish to create it. But I won't use this text at all because I have this image and I want to use this image of play button. If you want to do so, you can download some play button with a transparent background and use it as well. If you don't and want to use this text, you can do it. But in my case, I will delete this text. And in the button, you will see this source image. I can drag this button image here. And let's change width to be 80 and height to be 80 as well. Okay, the way it will work, when we start our game and when I click this button, game will start. That's exactly what we want, but in order to do it, just scroll down and you will see this on-click event. Let's make this plus sign. And what we want to do, we want to assign game manager here because we will handle all of the scripting and UI part in game manager, and in no function, let's say game manager game start because we will handle this button in our function with the name of game start, which we already have in game manager script. And let's go now and actually code. We'll actually make some codes. Okay, let's open game manager and it needs few new variables. First of all, we need scoring. Int score will be equal to 0 because we will start from 0. We also need public text, but before we get it, you should add this line using UnityEngine.UI. Otherwise, it won't work and Unity won't recognize what you are doing. So just add using UnityEngine.UI. And now let's create public text. And let's name it score text. We also need game object, public game object with the name of play button, and one more public game object for our player because we will hide our player and then make it seen when we click on the start button. So just type public game object player, and now we have this game start with our coroutine. We should do it here. When we click on our button, what we want to do, we want our player to be active. So player set active to be true. We also need our play button to disappear. So let's say play button set active to be false. And we can also create our scoring system. Let's do it. It's very simple. Void, let's call it score up, brackets, and let's say score plus plus, which means it will be incremented. And we can say here score text dot text because we want text element to change actually. So our 0 will be changed with our score when our score will go high. The problem with this is that our score is integer and our score text is string. So we can transform our int to string. You can say score dot to string parentheses, and that's it. Now go in the game start once again, and let's add the score up function here. Everything to work. So we can say invoke, repeating, score up. Just type exactly like you did in this function, score up. And let's say 2f and 1f. Now, these 2f and 1f, what are they? Our score will start after 2 seconds when we click on our play button, and our score will be incremented after every second. So every second we will get 1 point. It's common scoring thing. Obviously you can make scoring different ways, but for our game I think it works fine. One more thing, we don't need this game start at all, so just delete it because our game will start when we click on our button. So let's save this script. Nothing complicated, we just increment our scoring and change it on our canvas after 2 seconds and then after every second. Let's save this script. Let's go back in Unity, and we should assign game objects first of all. So let's open this game manager, and it has these empty spots. For this core text we need this first text, which is our 0 right now. For the play button we need this button, and for our player we need our player. Let's hide our player, so just click on the player and you see this tick. Just uncheck it, and let's start playing and see if everything works fine. Okay, here is our game. When we click on the button, our game will start, and our scoring will also start. Amazing, guys, we did it. Everything works fine. And if you have any questions, feel free and ask me in the comments down below. Now you can take this game from these points and add different obstacles. You now know how you can spawn and delete them, and I hope this video was informative for you. And if you like this kind of videos and want to see more, just please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to ring the notification bells because new, more interesting videos are coming soon. So thanks for watching and see you soon. Bye bye.